This is your daily briefing. You're most welcome to it. The death of Gianpiero Ventrone will be marked today ahead of the kick-off at the Amex when we play Brighton. I understand there's going to be another thing at the Spurs Stadium next week for the Champions League visit of Frankfurt. Clubs posted some really nice stuff. They've handled this really well. 61 years of our age, no age at all. Absolute sadness. And what's emerged from the contributions that players and people have made at the club is that this guy was a tremendous character and he will be genuinely missed. People don't know how to react to death sometimes, and I partly blame the internet, it has to be said, and the Spurs club feed on Twitter. We're in the territory of Ricky Gervais's Afterlife series, it has to be said. Brighton will be an interesting proposition in light of recent performances by Spurs, and the whole business, of course, with Brighton star Yves Bisoumma being seemingly unable to buy a game since his arrival at Spurs. Question marks about his fitness, about his aptitude, about his tactical ability to take in information. Alistair Gold has chimed in. This is written verbatim from his video, so I'm not jumbling the words. This is actually how he talks. But it makes you wonder, these guys are so close to the action and yet they appear to miss everything. But here we are. And he says, I was told by people around who followed him all the time that he was one of the fittest players in the Brighton team. Fitness shouldn't have been an issue. Conte is another level, as everyone says, but still he should have had that base layer. People would also say that the defensive side of his game was the strongest point, and now Conte is saying it's not good enough. It's all very strange. I can only presume in training he's not showing enough. Quite the conundrum for the Goldie-looking journalist. Maybe Conte didn't order him, maybe Conte didn't want him, and maybe it's not down to some Italian fit of petulance, maybe it's just that he's already got lots of a plethora of these kind of holding midfielders, and we're back to that versatility thing again. When Bisoumma was announced as a target, and I'm just going to throw this out there, perhaps people should have been asking what we were planning to do with him, as we already had Skip, Bentancur and Højbjerg and in central holding roles. But the trouble is, you see, this is all I'm hitting Gold metaphorically over the head with, is that now you're saying it's all very strange after the event, but at the time you were one of the guys shouting "War Chesties go, that's number 5, who'll be Conte's 6th signing of the summer," and we have the same thing with the YouTubers here, and it's all screaming like, smash, subscribe, go wild, PayPal me a £5 to answer me a question that I won't give you a straight answer to, and we're just surrounded in the main by imbeciles. The journalists there have fantastic access and they're not doing their job properly. They're not asking pertinent questions. And by that, you see, I think a lot of times when you talk about what the journalists get up to at HOTSPUR, people say, well, you've got to be careful what you say, don't want to... You ask people what's credible and rational, and you conduct yourself in a pragmatic manner. So that doesn't mean you're being rude. But what you want to do is to get to the crux of things. And instead of whooping and punching the air and going, yeah, more signings, war chest, just look at what we're doing. And nobody really bothered to do that. I'm not making it up. Nobody really bothered to do that. And in the main, we're surrounded by imbeciles, as I say. Brighton and Hove Albion have so far, they're on a flyer, really, so far equalled their best ever start to a Premier League campaign, which is 4 wins, 2 draws and a lose. They could even leapfrog Spurs if they get a +2 goal difference in their victory today, and that's something they've already achieved 3 times in their last 5 Premier League outings, of which they won 4 and drawn 1. Following Spurs' 0-0 Champions League stalemate in Frankfurt, Tottenham manager Antonio Conte made a concerning prediction for the remainder of this season, stating that his club will need 1 or 2 more transfer windows to be competitive in both the Premier League and in Europe. Some are now questioning which competition he will prioritise going forward after they suffered their first loss. It says here, of the Premier League season, a 3-1 defeat to North London rivals Arsenal. So you're all screaming, or some of you, many of you were screaming, yes, 150 million, happy days. And then the rain on our parade merchants, such as my good self, were saying to you, hang on a minute, we've not spent 150 million and nobody said we were going to. That was the press. The club never said that. I'm going over old ground, but I will keep repeating stuff that's true because it hasn't got through to a lot of you. So, you know, the amount we had to spend was overblown. And then when we spent it, nobody questioned the quality of the players that were coming in. And equally, I've got to say again for the umpteenth time, there's over 100 million quid's worth of junk that we had to hide, that we've had to loan out to people. And some of those players haven't even put their boots on yet. Today's game, tonight's game, whatever you want to call it, kick off 5:30. You can watch the action live on Sky Sports main event. There will be goals. There's a goal forecast. Since being promoted, Brighton being promoted, there have been 10 head-to-heads between this pair, and they've averaged 2.1 goals per game. I'm going for a draw, which I hate to say that because it's obviously really bad if you're supposed to support a team, so I'm going for another loss. But I'm going for a draw, which is I always feel it's a bit of a cop-out, but I think there's a realistic chance of that being the score. I don't know, 1-1, 2-1, 3-1, 5-1. I just don't feel a win. Spurs will be without Emerson Royale, without Dejan Kulusevski, without Lucas Moura, and without Jeffet Tanganga. That's it for now. Good luck. Keep it on.